Hello, everyone. If anyone wants to come out. I hope this clears up. Waiting for YawnGod. And you know what? If anyone else wants to come out, you're invited as well. Just drop the link. Apparently, my internet is extra awful today, right now. But you know what? That's the world I live in, so I'm just going to deal with it. So we are going to be talking about the ridiculous, the foolish, the humorous. We're going to talk about porn bombing and catfishing and trolling. Actually, you know what would be the best trolling move is if YawnGod actually didn't show up. I'm going to put 5 minutes on the clock, and then we'll be back, hopefully, to talk, okay? Yanni. Hello, sir.
Hello.
I like the use of the microphone. I like that as an extra little bit. It's good. It's good. I know I asked before where you are as far as country, and you have not stated previously. I'm going to say Spain.
It's all NATO, Stan. It's all NATO, Stan.
Awesome. Someone said that if I'm talking to you, I have to start by saying, "Tell me about the house you grew up in." Do the full Paul Vanderklay. But I'm not here for that. I don't think you're here for that. We're here to talk about the ridiculous. And I thought you would be the best person to talk to.
I am just a prop for your show, David.
Oh, lovely. Lovely. Well, that's actually a great place for starting. You know why I asked you, right? Two separate reasons.
There was an incident a long time ago, but if you want to start with that, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I've been trying to figure this out because so I was the one who told someone else, and you were commenting, you were in the comments of something like Grail Country, and I made a comment, and that was my first interaction with you because I saw the trolling, which like the actual trolling, the catfishing, if you will, where someone pretended to be you, and then on Chad's stream, and through that posted an image of someone's genitals in like a cage or wired. It was something like that, but you never even saw it, right? You were elsewhere.
So this is how this is my memory of it. So I was on the Alcoholics channel, and at some point, some guy enters the panel with his camera off, and you could tell through the body language of those on the panel, and especially the alcoholic, that they were too liberal in their. It was too fast. You can see them click. You can see how someone reacts, and so they just invited this person on the panel very quickly, without thinking. And I remember I had this thought of, I should let them know that something could happen, but I decided not to, because it's not my business. It was just funny to me. It got kind of boring, and I felt uncomfortable, and there are other things to do, so I bounced around, and at some point, I go back to Chad's channel. And I start typing things, and I get this idea that no one can read my posts, so I start refreshing to see if they're there. They're not there. And then I start writing notes in Notepad for a future time on a different channel when Chad would appear, and then I would try to trash talk Chad for banning me for no reason. Unbeknownst to me, something happened. And when I was on Grail Country doing, other stuff, then you appeared and you told me, and then it was, so I technically never saw anything.
And
I wasn't
you
there
were
when
surprised.
the happened.
And you thought I was slandering you because I said, watch out, because I had never experienced this before. So I said, watch out. He just yeah. Sorry. But it was all
this is I am good at listening.
Okay. Yeah. And I had never come across that. I do know that when Jacob first let me use his channel, he warned me about this as a situation. I did not know that this was a thing, that people would just come on to any kind of conversation and post such things. And then a couple months ago, someone did the same thing to me using Yoav at my Bible study. So Yoav was in, I think, for a little bit, and then went out. And then all of a sudden he came.
The Yoav?
Yeah, it was his picture, like the image of him. And I was like, okay, I know him. So I let him in, and then all of a sudden it switched to an image, to a video of, clearly not Yoav, let's just say that, of a man masturbating. But the video was edited so that he's completely naked. It was neck down, and there was a red arrow like added in paint afterwards, pointing to his penis. So that, because you're like, whenever you see an arrow in your mind, you're like, I must follow the arrow word. Right? And then they had, aside from that, the audio was just the N-word being shouted at like 11 volume over and over and over and over again. And I was just, and it was like Yoav, right? Who is just like, seems like a perfectly sweet guy. Yeah. And I started thinking, it really hit me, because it was a weird experience, because I was supposed to be in control of the stream. I had to kick him. I had to figure out about editing the video. I had to figure out about the chat itself. He started spelling the N-word one letter at a time. It's just like N-I-G, like just in the middle of Bible study, I'm having to figure all this stuff out, right? And it really, It was shocking. I had to deal with it emotionally on some level for a bit. And then I was like, what is this? What the heck is this as a thing
At
someone did?
any point, did you really think it was Yoav?
No. Well, especially after what happened with you and having the conversation with Jacob, it became very clear that this was a thing that people did. That like it became relatively. I jumped on you because I didn't even know about it really as a phenomenon. As soon as I knew that it was a phenomenon, I was like, no, that's not. Especially the way that you interact with the Bible study is a perfect example. Because some people call you a troll. I sometimes call you a troll, but that is incorrect, I think. I think, and it's a form of comedy without a doubt. And so I wanted to talk about that form of humor, whatever the heck this thing was, this porn bombing. What is the prank? Is it like flashing? Is it the prank of it like mooning, right? Or is it what's going on? Yeah, Jason knows you're not a troll. Someone says you look like Akira the Dawn, if you know who that is.
Is shout out to Comic Book Girl 19. Does anyone know that reference?
I do not. Is that a Simpsons? No, is that Simpsons?
No, that's a YouTube channel.
Okay.
You know, there's a lot to know. Apparently, there's a whole community, a subculture of trolls. Technically, I'm not a troll. I'm a person who is never taken seriously, and so the only way anyone will listen is if I play around. So in reality, I'm an extremely serious person, but because no one cares, I have to be funny. So that's a tragedy in a way, but you know, that's the performance arts mask, the drama and tragedy and comedy.
I think it's excellent. And at some point, because people would get upset with, I think, the wrong aspects of your comments for the Bible study or for when I was like doing Macbeth or whatever, trying to explain to people, no, you have to know what he's getting at because he is getting at something. Because a troll, like in the, I think that I like even looked up the meaning. Late Middle English in the sense of stroll or roll, origin uncertain, compared with Old French troller, wander here and there in search of game. Okay. And if you're fishing, trolling is when you drop a whole bunch of lines all at once. So you're not focused. You're just hoping anything bites. Okay. So I'll share actually an image.
You know, I recently was watching a YouTube channel of a former troll, a real troll. And when you listen to the stories of actual trolls, you understand I'm not a troll, obviously. So a real troll, this is the stuff they say. They will create hundreds of accounts, and they will, if they have the investment, if they care to troll you, this is what they will do. They will make 100 accounts. They will go onto your channel. They will befriend you. You will give them eventually moderator privileges, and once you do that, they're fucked. That's what a real troll does. Okay, so I mean, you know, is T Grog a troll? No, he's a poor guy. He has nothing better to do. It's sad. T Grog shouldn't be online with you guys. T Grog should be in his university in his ivory tower, think math and stupid quarks. But he's here talking to you guys because he knows it's over. He knows civilization is gonna hit its whatever turning
Right,
it's on right
right.
now. So, you know, what are you gonna do?
Well, I realized this at some point too, this obsession that I have with humor. Like I think I really grew up when you're in like grade 5 or whatever and you watch Saturday Night Live. I was absolutely spoiled because when I was in grade 5, it was Norm Macdonald. And so at a very early age, I said, okay, this is what peak comedy is.
Oh, let me tell you about peak comedy. Oh my god, you have no idea. So, during that and maybe Alan will be I'm gonna drop names everywhere. Maybe
It's
Alan is gonna
fine.
have some idea of what I'm talking about, because around the time of Norm Macdonald's death, there was a huge I don't wanna call it a movement, I don't know what to say, I don't know how to describe it, but there was this idea of the comedy family. The comedy family this, the comedy family that, they're all family. You had, Bert and, the other guy that I forgot his name, Tom Segura and all that crap, all that
Yeah,
family
yeah.
BS. And what does the genius Norm Macdonald do? He gets cancer, dies, and tells no one. That is the greatest joke of all time.
Yeah.
All that comedy family bullshit was happening in front of him, where he was sitting in the room listening to that bullshit, and then he dies of cancer. Oh my, it was the greatest joke ever. He's the greatest. That was the
Have
greatest
you
joke ever. Oh my god.
have you heard his cancer bit? His bit on death?
Uh, I think I've heard him talk about death before he died. On maybe it's on one of those like either Letterman or something like this. He'll one of those monologue jokes he'll have, and you don't
He did
realize that he's talking about himself. Yeah.
Yeah, he did a bit. So he did a show that was, I think, an hour long. Okay, so it's a.
Oh.
But the beginning of the show, the first joke he does, he says, "It's good to be here, good to be alive," and then he says, "It's actually not very good to be alive. It's just so bad to be dead." And that is the beginning of a bit that's like 7 minutes long, where he talks about death and he uses the term bowel cancer a whole bunch, which is essentially what he died of, where he talks about his uncle dying of bowel cancer. And he talks about you're no longer allowed to get sick and die. Now you have to wage a battle, and he talks about like waging and he says, but that's bad because the last thing you do is you lose your battle with cancer. So the last thing you do is lose. What a loser that guy was, right? And he's doing this whole bit. It's amazing. There's no real joke, but looking back, I'm like, this guy knows he's dying of cancer, does a whole bit about it as insensitively as possible. Incredible.
You know, I have a kind of religious joke, and I don't know how much I owe to Soylent Green, but I had this idea before Soylent Green, and it was that the religion of the West is modern medicine, and the hospital is its temple, and they will tithe until they can tithe no more. So
It's good. I just like Luke's comment. Someone masturbating while screaming the N-word. Dang, I feel like there are better paths. Yeah. Yeah. In my book, that's a tie. Yeah, that's the Norm Macdonald. You don't lose. Yeah, but I realized at a young age that I think guys do this more than women, where we try to connect through humor. And like like joking of a junior high boy when that testosterone first hits hard, and they just become silly and slappy and like getting in each other's faces and becoming a problem. But I think that's getting at something. I don't think that's for nothing. I don't think it's just like to pass the time. Yeah, more people. What do you think humor is for? And cynical humor, like tearing down. What do you think that's about?
I mean, you know, I'm just gonna. Everything I'll say is basically a platitude. You know, humor is a tool. Cynicism is one of the tools in the toolbox. Stuff like this. So,
what is that platitude getting at? What is it getting at? What is it a tool for?
It shows you who you are. There's technically there's no reason for anything. All right. So in that sense, if reason is what you give it, then your humor just shows you who you are. Okay. So it's kind of like if drugs show you who you are. If you drink, are you a happy drunk? Are you a sad drunk? Are you a violent drunk? So the drugs just show you who you are. Your humor shows you who you are. Whether you step on the grass or step on the sidewalk shows you who you are. Oh, so it shows you who you are. So there can be cynical humor that has a reason. There can be cynical humor for no reason,
I think one of the things where I've heard people throw out jokes very early on, it's almost like telling people your favorite songs, or it's like you say a thing, you get some kind of credit as though it's your joke, even though it's obvious, like most jokes you just heard from someone else. And it's like a shortcut to knowing someone. It's like, so I do think it's an attempt for human beings to tribally connect with each other. The jokes that people just throw out, which is interesting because I've seen them fail real bad, where people will use bad first jokes. There's some jokes you got to know the person before you throw them out.
I mean, that's only true if you care about things in the moment. So could you imagine if I only cared about things in the moment? Then I would have to make all these Christian references about how Jesus is so great and all this. You know what I mean? Because that's the moment. If you're planning on long-term humor, okay, then you want to make a joke that when they remember it in 10 years, it has meaning or something like this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we can workshop jokes. Do you want to workshop jokes?
I don't think I do want to right now. But that death joke, the cancer joke that Norm Macdonald did, I do think was 10 years before he died. He was battling cancer for a decade. And so he processed it in terms of humor and shared it with people without anyone knowing it was personal. People thought it was the most impersonal, disconnected kind of line of jokes. But I think ridicule is like to tear something down, to show the faults of something, to rip it apart, right? So I think there's that element of humor. And you do it through humor, because if you can get to humor, that means that you've made a connection with someone. Because the laugh is it's involuntary. You have this reaction, so you know that you hit some kind of a rhetorical connection with someone. Like I spent a week working with the Amish in not too far from me, and I was making jokes with the Amish and making them laugh, and I was like, I feel like I connected with this guy because we're from very different cultures, but I made him laugh.
That's beautiful.
Do you think let's talk about ridicule. Like there's something deeply satisfying, even like right now we're in the period of time where roast humor has become way more popular. but the idea of insult and tearing something down.
Well, the joke is if you believe in humiliation rituals. So,
yeah.
If you think humiliation rituals are a thing, then a humor which ridiculizes, I don't know how I would conjugate that, but to make someone ridiculous, there's a context because you have to know things. Obviously, if the person is fat, that's easy to see, but the more, the deeper you go in, you have to know things about the person to make fun of them. So on a certain level, of course, everything is just an information competition. AI, the investment in AI shows this, but
Right.
Again, humor is a tool. So, even a priest can be funny, even though he shouldn't be. Even this kind of stuff, and I I'm gonna almost approach this from a T Grog perspective, where T Grog is frustrated at everyone because he doesn't understand how they believe in certain things, how they believe in whatever. Uh, let's see if I can remember because I already forgot what I was going to say.
Well, let me put something into words and see what you think about it. I feel like Richard Dawkins and Hitchens in particular, Christopher Hitchens is more a comedian than he is a philosopher. His comedic rhetoric is far superior than any of his arguments ever were. Like, what was the joke? After Jerry Falwell died, he was on Fox News, and they said, "Okay, Christopher, we're gonna have to say goodbye to you." And the last comment he made about Jerry Falwell was, "If they gave him an enema, you'd have to bury him in a matchbox." That was his last joke. Like the last comment he made, not about his political, not about the arguments for God's existence, just saying he was full of shit.
So two things. One, I don't know if it's worth to either I leave and then I come back to fix some kind of audio delay or something like this. Maybe it is just the internet. The other thing is, in a way, this conversation depresses me because ultimately humor is cope, and it's an observational cope. So you're seeing things in the world and you're joking about them because you can't do anything about it. So how funny someone is could be seen as a kind of correlation to how little they can affect the world. Because otherwise you would just do it. You wouldn't joke about it. So Hitchens having these, these burns, Hitchens having these fun jokes against persons don't actually matter. I used to watch a lot of Hitchens stuff and listen. And at this point, what am I supposed to think? That Hitchens, whose family was in the military, was actually controlled by the CIA operation that controls journalists, and Hitchens was in Washington, D.C. all the time, and that means he was part of this group, and at some point, it's just you just become dejected because you know too many things. So
Right.
humor needs to be both ignorant and childish, but also with knowledge to make the connections. And you know, humor is not a solution. Humor is coping.
I agree. That's a great comment. That is a great comment.
I didn't want you to disappear. I just wanted the problems to go away.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out myself how to make these problems go away, but it seems the only way I could do that is by my video going away. No, I think you're.
I
I
mean,
think
how
you're
can
right.
you live in a first world country and have internet problems, man? Isn't that crazy? Why aren't you against? You should be mad at Trudeau right now. I mean, how can you be 21st century? It's a Thursday. It's not even the weekend, and you can't even have a decent internet connection. That's a crime against humanity.
I obviously am upset with Trudeau. I mean, come on. Let's see if I can get this thing working over here. Give me 1 second. What if David is the problem? What is that implying? I do think laughing at oneself, it definitely is a cope. It definitely is a cope. And you can see in some situations there will be an immaturity where instead of listening to people as they really are, someone will begin. Yeah, I think coping is a great way of describing it.
I mean, not skipping leg day is a cope. So it's not to poo-poo on the comedians. It's just everything is cope. Everything is cope. Then the question is, what isn't cope? What are the few actions you can do that are categorically not coping? That's for the audience to figure out.
Okay, I'm gonna come in another form. So you are in command for like 35 seconds.
Everyone should watch Captain's Courageous.
Can you hear me?
I can.
What do I gotta do for this? Okay. Show us your Jedi powers. What does that mean? Yanni, give me 1 second. I'll be right back.